Good afternoon, everybody. We are getting ready to kick off our Friday show of Baby Talk. Get cozy, grab some lunch. We're going to have a good show today. I love that. Good afternoon. I am Lynn Clementi Hicks, your Baby Talk with Lynn host. It is Friday. We are feeling good, and I have got a wonderful guest on the show today. We're going to be talking about some hard stuff, but we are going to do it in a way that is going to be really helpful. Not just to me, because that's really why I'm having her on the show. But it's going to be helpful to anybody. Honestly, anybody that is going through the fertility journey, that is going through pregnancy, postpartum, or that knows somebody that's going through any of that. We are going to talk about the hard parts, the parts where we usually don't talk about them. This is the stuff where, you get the news that it was another cycle that didn't work out for pregnancy. We're going to be talking about these crazy hormones that happen naturally for everybody during pregnancy and postpartum. And then we're going to be talking about that feeling that you have when you're seeing someone going through this and that you don't know exactly what to say, how to help them. Because that's the first thing we want to do, right? We want to help. But we're going to talk about that so that you feel more comfortable doing this, so that you feel less alone if you're going through these feelings. I'm going to be extremely vulnerable today because I've been going through these feelings so much lately. And we're going to let Lauren kind of show what she does. She is a professional. She is amazing, and I am so excited about the groups we're putting together to support people that are going through this. We're going to cover all that. Let me give you a quick update. Okay. This is going to be tough. Don't be sad. I've already taken yesterday to grieve. We have our official blood test tomorrow at the end of our 2-week wait from our second IUI procedure. As I have mentioned, I have been testing the HCG levels out of my urine and hopefully to see that line reappear, as we get to the end of the 2-week wait. Unfortunately, that line has not reappeared, which means it's most likely going to be a negative on the pregnancy test tomorrow. Yeah, I'm super sad, but we were kind of expecting it this time around. Last time we were very hopeful. This time we curbed that a little bit. I've been talking about that all along. The good news is, though, that we get to continue the journey together, and I get to bring you along for the ride on IVF. So you get to learn all about IVF, because that'll be coming next. So sad but happy at the same time. But don't worry, guys. I know that it's hard news for you to hear. Do not worry about me. I am okay. So is Bert. We've been talking about it. We've been crying. We've been digesting these feelings in a very healthy way. So we are okay. I am ready to bring on our guest, Lauren Fallon. Oh, just so happy to have her on 2 weeks in a row. Here she is, guys. Lauren, thank you so much for being on the show again. Oh my God. So in all fairness, guys, I called Lauren yesterday. It wasn't for a tech check or anything. I'm just like, Lauren, I need your help. I don't know.
I was so glad you did.
Summarize that for everybody. I don't know. How'd you experience it?
Well, at first I was just like, oh, I gotta talk to Lynn. Like, I need to know what's going on for her right now. And so when you came on, I could tell you were in a difficult spot. And it's one of those things where, like, the feelings are just lodged right up here in your throat.
Yes.
And as soon as anyone asks you the question, it's just like, poof. And so that's what happened. And I feel like the best way I can explain how you were was you were in a very negative headspace.
Yeah.
You're being very mean to yourself. And the best thing I could do was to help you rewrite some things that you were saying to yourself, because you were not being nice to my friend, Lynn. You were not being nice to my friend, Lynn.
You did such a good job with me, helping me do that, Lauren. I appreciate it. Yeah.
I'm glad it was helpful.
And then we had a really good talk about how to structure today's talk. and how this is going to go. So let's set the stage. Yes, last week, you guys might recognize Lauren. She was on as our photography, our baby photography bump to birth photographer. She's amazing for that. Check out that episode if you didn't see it last week. She gives some good tips on how you can do it, but the biggest tip is to hire a professional. I recommend Lauren. But Lauren wears many hats, and let's set the stage here. So Lauren, talk about your background in being a social worker. Tell us where it began and, your certifications and what you've been doing.
Okay. So in addition to my photography background is that I always wanted to be a social worker too. My mom was a social worker. I would shadow her from a very young age. So I went to Syracuse University, and I was there for undergrad, and I completed my undergrad in 3 years. And then in one more year added on to that, I stayed at Syracuse and got my master's. I was young and I was just like, let's just do this. Let's finish this. And when I graduated, I moved to Boston and got my very first social work job and decided I really wanted to get the licensure. So the licensure means that I am allowed to see clients on my own. So it's not like agency work. It means like if I wanted to do private practice, which I always knew I wanted to do. So then when I moved to Illinois, and after being a school social worker for a little while, I was like, let's do this private practice thing. So I joined Life Balance Counseling, and I see individuals. I created some groups. I did a postpartum group, which was great. I tried to run an infertility group, but at that time, even though it was only just a few years ago, I feel like it was even more closed in, and people didn't want to talk about it, or didn't want to admit that there was a problem with it, or didn't want to make the connection, the mind-body connection, which was fine. So I didn't get a lot of takers on that. The postpartum one, though, was well attended, which I was really happy about. And that's when I kind of made the switch over, and I was like, oh, just like my photography, I was like, I'm a mom. I totally get this change. Now I really want to work with moms and help them through the change. So that's where my therapy went too.
Yeah, I love that. And it's you when you do something, Lauren, you are like all in on it, and it is so cool because you don't just do things because it's a job. You are doing things that you truly believe in, and like you're an artist about it. You like your passion shows in everything that you do, and I love it. And you've been a great friend because of it too. Like you're just so genuine.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm not just here to just spew out like compliments all day long. It's true, guys. Lauren is extremely qualified in what we're about to talk about today. Okay, and I want to touch too on your experience. I know we talked a lot about your own journey last week, but let's kind of just recap that as you are a mom. Sure. You went through your own infertility issues. So recap that, and then also touch on how it relates to the emotional health and how that was for you.
Okay. So yeah, both my babies are IVF babies. It was such a journey that I wasn't really sure of. Like, I'm an anxious person, and not knowing where things are going is really hard for me. Not knowing what to expect, taking a new journey is exciting, but also very anxiety provoking. So I was very aware of that going through it. So the more answers I could dig up, the more people I could talk to, the better I felt. So the ups and downs of the fertility journey definitely need partnerships with people, supports in your life, whether they be strangers that you've never met before or your family and friends. So I was one that never kept anything quiet. If anyone asked me a question, I would tell them about it. There was no secrecy. There was no shame in our game. Like, we were like, here's what's going on. This is what we're doing, which is really similar to what you're doing now, Lynn, which is so important. Because there is no shame in this game. There is none. Like, this is just, you would be amazed at how many people have to go through this. Like, once you're in this fertility door, you're like, wow, there are just so many people who are experiencing the same problems.
It's so true. When I opened up about it, because we didn't talk about it a lot for the first 2 years, and then when we finally opened up, it was like a floodgate of people reaching out like, oh my God, I went through this too. And we just don't open up about it. But I encourage anybody going through this journey to just put it out there to the world. Hey, we're going through this right now, and you will find that support will come to you.
Yes. Oh,
It's a very,
yes.
but it's a very private thing for a lot of people. And I think
Correct.
that shame is a really big part of it.
Yes.
Yesterday, I was feeling this overwhelming feeling that I'm not capable. I'm not good enough.
Yep.
There's something wrong with me. I am not a enough woman. I am not,
Hmm.
all these things that all these other women can have babies, and why can't my body do it? And I felt
Yep.
very, yeah. And it's a lonely feeling.
Shame.
Yeah, shame. And it's a lonely feeling when you feel that and see everybody around you seemingly, going on like it's no big deal.
Right. That's a lot. I mean, that's a very similar thread to mental health issues in our society in general. Like, the more people can open up and discuss it, the more normal we can make it, and the less of a struggle it needs to be, because these feelings are very normal. Um, and like when I referenced you were being mean to yourself, those were the automatic thoughts that
Yeah.
you have in your head, right?
Right.
Those just come in your thought. They're just thoughts, though. They are not truths, and that's what we need to really
Right.
pay attention to. Um, and really, we rework the way our brain is trying to guide us through this journey, because your brain isn't always right.
No.
Sometimes it needs a little bit of, you know, different messaging, so that it makes the journey a little bit more bearable.
Exactly. We have some fans watching, and this is what I'm talking about, the support. Hi, Kelly.
Hi,
Saying
Kelly.
hello, lovely ladies. Hi, Kelly. Thanks for watching. She's back at work. She just got off her
I know.
her maternity leave. She back at work this week. So awesome. Corinne is watching. Hi, sweet friends. And she just says also, thank goodness you were so open about it, Lauren. I think that, yeah, you help other people when you're open about it. You know exactly what I'm doing now. I've gotten so many people writing
Mhm.
to me like, thank you for opening up about it. I feel less alone. So that's exactly
Exactly.
what we're doing. Exactly. So you talked a little bit about anxiety.
Hmm.
For you, can you talk a little bit more in detail about what that looked like for you? Um,
Um,
yeah.
I've had anxiety since I was probably like 15, 16 years old.
Mhm.
Um, Anxiety can manifest in a lot of different ways in a lot of different people, just like anything, right? It's very personalized to you. My anxiety manifests itself by ruminating thoughts. I feel like I'm on a merry-go-round with the same thought process over and over and over again. My brain's searching for answers, and sometimes I don't have those answers. And that makes me extremely anxious. I can't sleep. I Yeah, I feel very like heart palpitations, the butterflies in my stomach. I get really tired. I'm exhausted because it's an exhausting process. When
Yeah.
your brain won't stop, it takes a toll on your body.
Yes.
Um, so that's the way my anxiety manifests itself in a very short little nugget.
Yeah.
For a while, I did have to reach a point in my 20s where I was like, you know what? I need therapy. So I went and started my therapy journey for myself, which I think anybody should do. I think just in general, therapy is good for people. Like, it's just good.
Yes.
Um, and especially being a social worker, it's also really nice to know how it feels to be on the other side so that you can have more empathy for your own clients.
Yeah.
So I started that journey, and I did some EMDR work, which is something that I love so much that I then did myself. So it's eye movement, desensitization, reintegration. So I don't want to like go off on a tangent on EMDR, but it's fantastic. It's
I've
so
never
great.
heard of
It's so cool.
this.
No, oh my God,
No.
it's so cool. Oh, Lynn, we can talk off of it after a little bit. It's a whole different skew. I don't want to go there right now.
Okay. Okay.
So I did that in my therapy process. I did a lot of dream work like you did. And I did a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy,
Okay.
which is, it's proven to be one of the best treatments for anxiety is CBT. And that helps me tremendously. Like, it really gives you like a reality check to your thoughts. Because when you're stuck in these ruminating thoughts, you think that all your thoughts are real. You think that all your thoughts are indisputably real, and they're not. So you need to like take a moment, take a beat, and even like just journal your thoughts and be like, fact check them. Be like, is this true? Is there a different way to see it? Where's the proof that it's true? Give me evidence. And like, you have to go through this process, and then you can like relieve yourself of needing to think about it anymore. And then you can reintegrate some different messaging to yourself at the end of it. That's again a very condensed version of CBT.
That's a great
But it
tool.
helped me.
Yeah. I
It's a
have
great
found
tool.
I know that journaling helps me. It helps me get
Mhm.
it all out. Like it's like I'm pouring it onto a page, and very rarely do I go back and read it again, but just putting it out on paper. But it's so weird, like even though I know that that helps, I still can't sometimes do it. Even though I have that
Yeah.
tool there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was doing all those things in my 20s, and then it still was getting to a point where even all those tools in my bag weren't helping me.
Hmm.
And that's when I made the decision, like, okay, we need some medication.
Okay.
So I went and I got on some anti-anxiety medication, and I would say I was on it maybe like 18 months. And then I really got back to a place where my tools were able to work, which is all I think that medication does, is it bridges the gap. When you're unable to access your tools, the medication will get you back to being able to use your tools. And so then once I felt good and steady using my tools again and feeling like I wasn't burdened by this thought process anymore, I weaned myself off slowly with the help of a doctor, of course. Slowly wean myself off, and I've been off of them ever since because my tools are still in reach. My tools are still accessible. If I ever got to the point again where I felt like my tools were inaccessible again, that's my line for, okay, you might want to get back on some medication again.
I've never heard someone explain medication so eloquently for this. I've been very like, my with my therapist, I've been very anti-medication. He's like, no, medication makes it hard for you to access the real feelings, which is what we need to work on in order for you to feel better. But I think that there's what you're talking about, Lauren. There's some work that you can't do for anxiety and those kinds of things that we're that are just built into us. Whether it's from
Mm-hmm.
hormones or something else. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't, I don't think I should be, adverse to trying medication because just like I said, I can't bring myself to journal. Maybe I need to help, give myself access to do that again, and bridge that gap. So it's possibly something I need to personally do. We have some comments from people. Kelly said we were really open about it too, and it was great having the support of people when things didn't go as planned in the journey. So
Yeah.
another vote, guys. Be open to it, even with a small group of people that may have gone
Mm-hmm.
through it before. Those are going to be really helpful for you. And Liz is saying medication changed her life, which is
Yes.
great. Do you know
Hi,
Liz?
Liz.
There
I
you
do.
go. Amazing, awesome.
Yeah, the other thing with medication is that I'm all about mindfulness and really owning your feelings and sitting in your feelings and not escaping your feelings. Like there's a line too where like being flooded by your feelings and it being like a freezing thing where you're not able to then move out
Yeah.
of it is the difference. Like if you're using medication to escape completely and then never talk about your feelings again and just think life's going to go on, no problem because you're medicated, of course, that's not right at all. I think that you have to have the two-prong approach of having medication and therapy so that you can continue to work through your problems. Because it's not like medication takes away fear or medication takes away anxiety. It makes it so that you can like think for a minute, you know?
Now I'm starting to wonder why I haven't done medication sooner. You're opening
Because
my
you've been
eyes to
doing
them.
it the hard way, right, Lynn?
I
And
am
it's
doing
okay. Like, you've been doing so much good work. I don't want to discredit all the
Yeah,
work that you're doing either. It's just sometimes you're just like,
yeah.
okay, I've done a lot. I need some extra help here.
The big word you're using is stuck. Yeah, sometimes I just feel very stuck in my feelings, and it's hard to get up and just keep moving forward because yeah, that merry-go-round of the same thoughts going around and how to break that cycle. And I love that you're referring to like the tools to help yourself, and then we'll get into a few more of those tools later. I think that
Sure.
yeah, awesome. Um, so I think where I want to go next is how this is specifically something in the fertility journey. And the
Yeah.
biggest one that comes to my mind is the failed cycles. Those are the
Mm-hmm.
toughest ones where if you don't have a proper way to have that grieving process, or that time for yourself in order to cry, to, and let your partner cry too, and share in that, like that sadness that it didn't work, so that you can move on. That's a scary place, because that can turn into something else. Lauren, what do you talk about the fertility, the hard parts?
Yeah. So, I mean, just like you were in that space yesterday, you can get bogged down in that negative headspace and really have so many doubts that, again, you're stuck and you're afraid and you're anxious. And the mind body connection is so real that if you're stuck in that place, how can your body, we all know how much stress affects our body, right? So can you imagine those effects of stress on your body when you're trying to do something so invasive and so hard as trying to make your body fertile so that you can have a baby? So that's why trying to minimize the stress, which sometimes is caused by our own thoughts in our head, is so important. So we need to get that under control, because it really will affect your body. Those chemicals that are released when we're stressed out are not good for our body, is not good for our fertility cycle, is not good for our uterus, is not good for a lot of things. So we need to counteract it in any way that we possibly can. So not only is it important in life in general, but it's really important in the fertility cycle.
Yeah. Some feelings that I see and thoughts, that I see a lot of people talking about in the Facebook support groups for fertility, and infertility, is people getting angry when they see other people announcing pregnancy, especially when someone knows that you're going through it and they are like, "Oh, we just got pregnant." That seems to be a huge trigger for people in our
Yeah, it's
position.
big.
How, yeah, how are we supposed to, what are we supposed to do with that?
I'm laughing because it happened to me. And Brian and I were so angry in that moment. And it happened at a party, and they didn't know. And we were so happy at the same time, but we had no room for the happiness at that moment. We had to go hide in a corner of the house and cry, talk it out, and then figure out a plan that would get us through the rest of the evening. Mm-hmm. And then continue to talk it out anytime those feelings bubbled up again. Because you don't want it to get in the way of friendships. You don't want it to get in the way of family members. You don't want that anger. It's not their fault.
No.
So again, that's the CBT stuff that you want to start being okay, so it's not their fault. My anger is real. I'm going to sit in my anger. I'm going to talk about it. You can journal about it. You need to get it out. Go exercise. Go punch something. Go scream into the void, which seems to be everybody's favorite pandemic stress relief, is go scream somewhere. Go scream in a void. But get the energy out, because you don't want to direct it at people that don't deserve it.
Right. I love that you and Brian did that together. I don't, mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of any examples where Bert and I actually handled it together. I don't know, Bert, if you're watching, let me know if you can think of any examples. And I love that you brought in the partner into this too, because it's not just the woman that is having these feelings. This is extremely hard on the partner too. Let's talk mm-hmm. about the support for the partner. And I think that's often overlooked. What are your thoughts?
Totally. There? Yeah, I had always imagined doing a support group for couples. But honestly, there's so many times that it does fall on the woman, or the man's uncomfortable. Man, I keep being so heteronormative. I'm sorry. The partner is, the partner is also maybe averse to therapy or averse mm-hmm. to support. They want to deal with it in their own way. And honestly, part of it is maybe you have to let it be as private as you want it.
Don't force it. If it's forced, it's not going to work.
Correct. It's not going to help anyone if you're forcing it. Right. So one of the tenets of social work is meeting people where they're at. So if the partner is not there, then don't force it. But if they are there, then having those open conversations and trying to I know Brian has reached out to so many people that we know that have had a difficult fertility journey, and it's just hey, I want to offer myself, like I'm another one that's totally willing to talk about it, which I think is similar to Bert, that like I feel like partners either need their own group because it's a totally different experience, trying to feel very helpless and
Yeah.
and but hold strength for the partner who's going through it, like body wise, like we're on the front lines and they all they can do is hold our hand.
Yeah.
Sometimes, so I feel like that comes with its own unique kind of stressors. Um, I've done counseling for couples who are going through it, and that really helps too because it gives them a space to really voice their own concerns. I know sometimes the partners feel like they don't have a space to really express their concerns because again, they're trying to be that that supportive person that apparently means that they don't have any feelings themselves.
Yes, exactly. I was just gonna say, like, they're not allowed to have their own feelings, but partners, you are.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I love. I've mentioned this before. Bert actually found a Facebook support group for partners, and he joined it. And
Good.
he's active in it. He reads, what the other guys are going through, and and he talks to me about them too. And it is a thing, guys. And don't you as a partner, you are all of your feelings are valid, and you should not bottle them up either. And if you're not comfortable getting into therapy or anything like that, that's okay. But all these tools we're talking about today, they're for you too, because all your
Mm-hmm.
feelings are completely valid. We have a few comments. Stress is crazy. Shingles is, comes from
Oh, I get
stress.
shingles.
You do? Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
I sure do. I sure do, and it's terrible.
Oh my gosh. Does, oh, I don't, do, oh no. I didn't know shingles could come and go. Like, I thought, like, once you got them, like, you had them and it was kind of serious and then they go away. No.
Oh yeah, they go away. Yeah, I don't have it right now, but they flare up.
Yeah. Oh, I
The
see.
virus is in my system all the time, and stress triggers it.
No way. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, Kelly's talking about when people announce that they're pregnant. You have your own feelings, and you don't stop to think about, well, what did they go through. Your first question to them isn't going to be like, oh, how long did it take. You don't you're not like there to like dive it through your fertility journeys in the moment that they're like, we're finally pregnant. I've thought about this
Hmm.
too, for my audience, when we finally do get pregnant, are the people that are watching and going through infertility going to be upset with me for announcing that, but
Right.
I think that, I've thought about, when I announce mine, I feel like I'm going to be like, guys, this has been a long journey, like preface it with that, like, this is, give it a message, that like of hope,
Yeah.
I went through
Right.
this.
You
Yeah.
can two feelings can be true at the same time, and
Yes.
they can be at butting heads, but they can be true at the same time. You can feel those two feelings at the same time. So you can
Yeah.
feel hope and excitement and complete devastation at the same time.
Yes.
And that's okay. That
It's a
is
very
okay.
it's a very difficult thing to do though, because
Mhm.
oftentimes that one that is perceived as like a pejorative feeling, a negative feeling, is the one that's
Mhm.
dominating and causing shame, and then the shame,
Mhm.
is a third feeling that is in there. So, guys, if you feel these feelings of anger and happiness for that person that is announcing it, it's okay to have both of those feelings at the same time.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm
And you can
reiterating
process
what
them
you
through.
just said. Yeah.
No, and I love it. You put it into different words. That's great. That's a reflection technique, Lynn. Good job.
Yes. I feel like I'm gonna have to pay you after this episode. Hope you take my insurance. Um, Here, Liz is saying when that's what my husband seemed like to me. He didn't have as many feelings as I did. And I'm curious, Liz, do you think that was because he didn't have them, or because he didn't feel comfortable sharing them?
Yeah.
And that's a tough thing too. To know, we might not know. Bert said that we've talked through a few situations, but there wasn't one big one. Oh, this is back to whether he and I dealt with a situation like you and Brian did, of
Yeah.
finding out about, somebody else was pregnant, together. Yeah, it's so let's talk about partner. What we can do when we notice somebody else going through this, and what we can do
Okay.
to help them, because that's our first reaction is what can I do to fix?
Yes. And that's the key right there is that sometimes they don't need a problem solver. Sometimes they've already been doing all the research and doing all the things themselves that you reiterating steps that they've already taken is really annoying. And nobody wants that. But they're just trying to be helpful. But then you have to like hold their feelings and be like, they're just trying to be helpful. They're just trying to be helpful, be nice. But we're really just like, that's not what I want right now. Right. So anyway, kind of swallow the bit of I need to fix this for them and just ask, what do you need right now? Do you need someone who's going to listen to you? Do you want just like this wall to vent to? Or would it be helpful if we problem solve together? Is that something that would be really helpful for you to do? And let them name what they need in that moment. You can just offering an ear to listen is often all people need.
I love that. If you see someone going through it, ask them what they need.
How can I help? What do you
just need someone to listen, or do you need someone to help you to problem solve? Right?
Yep.
I love that. I think that's a great tool. Step number 1 right there. I got an email from a friend after we announced that we were that I was opening up about all this. And he's like, when you first told me that you were going through infertility, I was caught off guard and I didn't know what to say. Mm-hmm. I think that happens a lot. This happens not just in the fertility thing, but this happens a lot about when people are grieving, you don't know what to say. Lauren, do you have any recommendations for situations like that?
No one's looking for the perfect response. Any response is better than no response. Because the no response, again, we start with our mind again, where we're just like, well, I just turned them off. They don't want to talk to me. This is making them uncomfortable. I just lost a friend, right? And those are not thoughts that are helpful. So like, have some kind of response, even if there is no perfect response. So you're just going to say, I'm here for you. Or if you ever need anything, let me know. If there's any way I can support you, let me know. And that in and of itself is support enough. Just acknowledging it. The ignoring it because you don't know what to say is worse. All I know is I've ruminated plenty on friendships of people that didn't respond to me in my time of need, and it hurts. So I would rather have them said, this makes me so uncomfortable, but I still want to be here for you. I mean, transparency is fantastic. And it just leads to better open communication, and that's all you need. I know that in the past, if you are a doer, if that is the way you show that you help, sometimes just sending them a little something, sending them flowers or sending them chocolates. Or I know I sent, Corinne and I and a few other soccer people sent Kelly pizza and wine when they had a bump in the road, and we sent you something. Like sometimes you just, if you feel the need to do, sometimes just a small little gesture is really nice.
My mom is a card maker. She loves making cards, and I love, after, and it's, mail is so slow. So it's kind of funny because I'll have a really bad day, call mom, because that's what I do sometimes. It's one of my tools. And, and then like 5 days later, I'll get this card that's like thinking of you and like, you're so strong, Lynn. And I'm like, why? Oh yeah, that's right. Cause I had that real bad day a few days ago, and it makes me feel so much better. Like, knowing that it's still there, that love is still there. Mm-hmm. Elliot is watching, and yes, this was actually Elliot. Thank you he was the one that opened up and shared that that feedback with me, that when we announced that he didn't know what to say, which made it made me think a lot about this, is because I didn't know what to say to Elliot when his wife passed away, and it was very, difficult, but I wanted so badly to be there for him. And luckily Elliot was a lot like me, where he was sharing his journey through that, and it was a sign to me, something I learned by watching Elliot, is that if you are open and put yourself out there, support will be there for you. Mm-hmm. And it makes it easier for people to support you too, because they're listening. My mom is like, damn mail. I forgot for a second that my mom's watching. Yes. That's so funny. Kelly's also saying, yes, small gifts or cards are very helpful just to know people were thinking about them during the journey. I 100% agree. And Kelly is such a good gift giver. Like, I
She
don't know.
is.
It makes me so mad sometimes. I'm like, damn it, I can never be as good of a gift giver as Kelly. So sometimes I don't even try. But these are
That's her
great.
love language. That's her love
Yes,
language.
it is. I feel like she kind of just like stockpiles like presents just in case someone needs it once in a while. I'm pretty sure she actually does that. It's fantastic. So yeah, these are great tools. And I would add, I don't know, Lauren, what do you think? Like, if put yourself in the situation of the person that you're trying, to comfort. And know you cannot feel what they are feeling. But think about like a tough point in your life where you were going through something. What would you have wanted people to say to you then? And use that as what you can then say to that person.
Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
think,
Putting yourself in someone else's shoes is always a really good tactic, but you don't always have to insert your own story to show
yes,
that person that you know.
right.
That's not necessary. Use
Nope.
it in your head to come up with some feelings and support,
Yes,
but you don't have to share your story
right. Thank you
unless
for
it's
clarifying that. Yes. Just
unless it's
use
a
it.
space to do so.
Right. You can use it to just get to that space of how to empathize, but don't, yeah, it's not about you. Make it about that person in the moment and just be there for them. And sometimes that means no words. Sometimes it just means sitting, and that's okay
Yeah.
too.
Yep. Hugging if they want it, holding hands. What?
Kelly, she has a current gift for me. Oh my God, and this is even worse. I honestly already have some gifts for your baby. Oh my God.
I love Kelly.
I do too. I love her so much. I am so lucky she's my bestie. Oh, I'm very thankful for that. Sometimes I feel like I'm not a good enough friend in return. And that's another thing I beat myself up over is, I do have this voice in my head. I've talked about this a bit on my channel, is that I'm not good enough, in so many aspects. It's a very tough thing for me. But I keep going. And that's what I've learned, is that if you just keep going, you're going to
Yep.
build up confidence naturally. And,
Yep.
and it'll come, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, good stuff so far. How are you feeling?
Feeling good.
This is awesome. We've got
Yeah.
a lot of watchers today. A lot of people joining us.
Yay.
Guys, if you haven't said hi yet, please say hi. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you so much for saying that, because you're just an awesome
So
friend.
true.
I just want to be good enough. I want to just match your awesomeness. Um, if you guys have dealt with your own, I don't know, anxiety, depression, when did you experience it? Did you experience it during fertility? We're going to talk a little bit about perinatal and then postpartum. When did you experience it? Was it anxiety that you felt? Was it depression? What did it look like for you? I'd love to hear your stories. And if you're not comfortable talking, that's okay. I know, because I put everyone's comments up on screen, it might scare you away from sharing. So if you don't want to, that's okay. Brandy's watching. Hi, Brandy. Thanks for watching. Glad that you're
Hi,
learning
Brandy.
a lot. That's your intern, Lauren?
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, of course, the vote for Mom. You are awesome in your own way. Thank you, Mom. That's always what her cards say, too. And I keep all of them.
Of course. Hers are beautiful. I love her cards.
Oh, I know. And they're all unique. It's so wonderful. I love it. So perinatal
Yeah.
depression is not a term we hear a lot. In you and I talked about this a little bit, Lauren, that it's interchangeable, kind of. Talk about perinatal, postpartum.
Yeah. I think because of the tumultuous nature of hormones during pregnancy, it's really hard to pull out, like, okay, this is perinatal depression, or perinatal anxiety, versus you have a jumble of hormones going on that you've never experienced before, and you're kind of out of sync with yourself. So it's hard to pull it apart, but it's worth talking about so someone could help you pull it apart if you needed it to.
Yeah.
Like, I saw a woman who was definitely experiencing perinatal depression. And so what we did was we spent a lot of time making a plan for when that baby came. And sometimes the fear of the unknown can result in anxiety and depression in and of itself. So just making a concrete plan and knowing that you have the capacity to make a plan and make things be good and like you can get through this tough patch is what you need. Um, so yeah, it's hard because you really do. You're having like these surges of hormones as you are carrying a child, and it's going to be stuff that is totally foreign to you. At least it was for me. I'll say that. Like I was not expecting some of the hormone rushes that, even though they talk about it on TV all the time, and anyone that's walking around with a pregnant belly will tell you that it's real. You don't know it until you feel it yourself.
Does this happen when you mentioned it's a new feeling when you've had two pregnancies? Were they different, or were they feelings you felt again the second time?
To be honest, the second time is a blur because I had a toddler running around. So like the second pregnancy is totally different. You're not as mindful about all the changes that your body's going through. A, you've been there before, and B, you don't have time. I was like working. I had the 3-year-old that I was trying to chase around, and it's a completely different experience. I'm sure Kelly can talk even more about it because she just recently went through it. You're not as focused, and some parts of that is really good, and some parts of that is like, oh, where'd my mindfulness go? I need to know where I'm at. I need to kind of figure out what I need in this moment so that it doesn't get carried away and all of a sudden smashes against you at some day. So luckily I have a lot of people who know me very well and could like reflect some things to me. And I gave permission for that to be okay.
Okay.
You know, if you're seeing something out of the ordinary from me, please just let me know. Because I may not be as aware of it, which can happen in your first pregnancy too. But I was super aware of everything in my first pregnancy because I was just like, this is brand new. I love all of this. I know my body super well. So I was very much like in tune with all the new experiences that were going on and happening and like loving every minute of it and trying to like savor every minute of pregnancy.
Yeah.
While also realizing that it's tough. It's really tough.
Kelly did share here, bringing home a new baby is hard. She doesn't know if she had postpartum depression, but it's possible. She felt like a mindless zombie just doing the motions, feeding and changing the baby, but sometimes not being able to enjoy the baby. And I think that specifically most recently for Kelly because she just had her baby in November during the postpartum. You don't have people coming over like you did the first time. So Kelly, was this your first one or most recent one? I'd be curious to know if that happened with Nolan as well. Those feelings that you described. Yeah, and she says, yeah, the second pregnancy, you just don't get as much rest. And that's going to add
which
into
also
it too.
feeds into it too. Yeah, because if you don't have enough rest, again, that stress response kicks in, those stress hormones kick in on top of pregnancy hormones. Oh my God.
Yeah. You don't have the energy that you get from resting, to restore and be able to handle all that. Okay, this is another one. I definitely don't want to skip over this. Okay, and I know it's a little small to read here. But for me, depression was hit hard with a miscarriage. Rough anxiety, discontentedness during my subsequent pregnancy, and extremely physically symptomatic anxiety postpartum. Once doing therapy postpartum, I felt as if I probably needed help as early as I can, as early as my teens for anxiety, but didn't know what was wrong or have the resources because of my family and cultural views of therapy and mental illness. This is there's so much here. There's so much here. Okay.
So much to unpack.
There's so much. Let's talk about, so miscarriages. I'm going to just kind of make a little list here. I want to talk about, the culture, and shame of, family views of therapy.
Yep.
And then postpartum and extremely physical symptomatic anxiety postpartum. Let's talk about the miscarriage because we didn't kind of talk about that yet.
Right.
How do
Which
people
can
deal
be
with
a
that?
part of people's journey for sure. The rate of miscarriage is much higher for people in a fertility journey. I was extremely fortunate that I didn't have that. So I don't have the firsthand experience, but I can imagine how devastating it is. And right now, culturally, when I say culturally, I'm not even speaking from my own point of view as like a hetero white whatever woman. I'm speaking of the United States culturally just is now dipping their toe into being able to talk about miscarriage.
Yeah.
And to be able to own miscarriage as a loss, even though it's a baby you haven't met. That baby was inside of you. That baby was a thought. That baby was a nursery. That baby was clothes. That baby was everything.
It was a heartbeat. Yeah.
It was a heartbeat. You saw that heartbeat and it's gone. It's
And
a big, big loss.
for a lot of people, that first baby was a lot of work.
Yep. Oh, completely. And then it just is gone.
Yeah.
And you have to, again, those feelings of shame come in and those feelings of, and I feel like the medical community is getting better, but they treat it as just like a regular day-to-day, this happens, this can happen next. Like this is, you have to wait a little while before you can try again. And in that period, like you grieve or you don't let yourself grieve, it's so hard and it's so personal, but I feel like we just crossed the bridge into being able to talk about that too. And like I have, as a photographer, I've done so many rainbow baby photography moments. Liz was one of them. It was so joyous. We did a rainbow maternity session. I think the rainbow is a really great symbol because it's like this bright, colorful, hopeful thing. And it still connects your new baby that you're having with and recognizes the old baby that didn't make it earthside. So it's like this beautiful, colorful connection. I'm way into symbols and metaphors, so I think that's beautiful.
I think it's a wonderful thing that the community that you're talking about has built around this. And more and more and more, I'm seeing people announce their babies as rainbow babies. And I love that in a way that it's helping to normalize it, even though it's such a hard thing to talk about. And I think that the more that we see it out there, the more we realize, we're not alone in going through it. And I think that's a big thing that I hear from people in the community so much is that, they think, everyone else had a healthy pregnancy. What happened to me? What did I do wrong? It kind of circles back to that thing again. And I don't know, Lauren, people probably have their grieving process. Here, Kelly's talking about this because Kelly experienced one. A miscarriage. 100% miscarriage causes anxiety in other pregnancies.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
I remember going through this.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I remember going into the same room at the doctor office multiple times and having memories of being notified of the miscarriage every time I visited. Oh, God.
Yep.
So much anxiety for every doctor appointment that it would happen again.
Yep. I mean, it's, you've heard PTSD. That's a very traumatic moment for someone. Yeah. And so you're going to have those flashbacks. You're going to relive that moment. You're going to be like, what could I have done to make that baby stay?
Yes.
And there's nothing. And you didn't do anything wrong. That's so hard to grapple with.
And I think that is a thought that goes through every single woman's head who has a miscarriage is, what did I do wrong? Was it because I had that cup of coffee, or because I went running, or because whatever, fill in the blank. But that's it. Don't self-blame. It happens, and it happens frequently, and it's nothing you did wrong.
Right. And sometimes it is helpful if you have a practitioner that you trust. For me, I need to hear from an outside source when I fact check myself in my CBT timeline. So like, I need an expert sometimes to tell me, because sometimes I don't believe myself. I'll be like, could I have prevented this? Is there anything I could have done differently? And to hear it from a doctor that says no, sometimes these things just happen, is the nugget I take away, that when I start ruminating on those bad thoughts, I can be like, nope, your doctor said there is literally nothing else you could have done. So you can kind of let your brain shut it down.
Yeah. Forgive yourself. Forgive
yourself.
Yes. I think that's a great thing to do. Would you have listened to a therapist who gave you that same information, or did you need to hear it from a doctor, Lauren?
No, I think for me personally, I go to a source. So I would figure out a source that I would trust to tell me this.
Okay.
Um, like I said, I've never been through it, but
Right.
I can see myself being like, doctor, tell me all the things, tell me anything I should have changed or anything I could have done differently. And then I would believe them and I would pull from that when I was feeling extremely anxious. I did have my therapist once tell me that it was okay for me to stop thinking about something. And that was the thing that made me stop thinking about it. So like, I know that this helps me. I have used it in the past.
Oh, this is a very interactive group we have today. I love the comments coming in. Um, Kelly shared this when we did an episode with her. And if anyone out there has PCOS, we did a great episode with Kelly where she shared and opened up about that. But she also dealt with a miscarriage and she opened up about this very vulnerably and beautifully. And I really want to reiterate that the way that she got through this, she also sees the miscarriage as part of the journey. If that didn't happen, she wouldn't have the son that she has now. And Nolan is an amazing child, like just
I love
wonderful.
him.
Yeah. So I think when you do get that rainbow baby, that helps a little bit for some people. But I want to bring up this other comment. Hi guys, love you both. This is
Hi,
from Heather.
Heather.
Hi Heather. She didn't feel like she could connect with baby number one for the first few weeks because she was so detached.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
have, yeah. Talk about this, Lauren.
that's a thing. That's a thing. So that's like, you just had this giant thing happen to your body, right? So like you are again experiencing things you have never experiencing before. You are overwhelmed. You're overwhelmed with joy, and then you're just overwhelmed with they're giving me this life that now go take home and take care of, and also like I don't know what I'm doing, and but also like your body's in pain, and you need to start healing that, and you do get in this cycle of feed baby, baby poops, change it, try and sleep for an hour, back up again. And we're back up to that no sleeping and how much that affects your mental health as well. You feel like you're the only one feeling these things. You see your partner trying to help you out and you don't know what to tell them to do and they don't know what to do. So you're just like alone. You're just like, fine, I'll do it. This also happens when you're breastfeeding because you are the source of food for the baby. So like you're responsible for a lot. And you and your mental health and what you need goes off to the wayside. Your cup is not being filled whatsoever. So you almost think of this baby as being like just this being as opposed to this lovely, beautiful thing that came from the love between you and your partner. And this new part of your family. So you can have moments where you have that connection and you make that connection. But a lot of other times you're just like out of your own body and you're just like, what is going on? This is such a weird place that I'm in. I don't even know what I'm doing right now. So that detachment is real. It's when that detachment, oh, Kelly, it's when that detachment happens more frequently than the other feelings that you need to start talking to somebody and really acknowledging that you might be in the postpartum depression world or the postpartum anxiety world. If you're unable to bond with your baby, that's when you need to start asking for some help.
Yeah. And then there's probably an element of shame that comes in there like I'm not bonding with my baby. What's wrong with me? There's that shame element again.
It carries through every part of this and like God, the mom guilt is so real, guys. Like the mom guilt is going to, and again, there's always like the general public version of what I'm saying. And then there's the extreme when you feel like you might need to get some help. If the mom guilt is overwhelming, if you can't get out of the shame spiral and you've used all of your tools and you've tried to fill your cup and it's still not working, that's a sign that you need professional intervention.
Right. And how long should people wait before they see that not going away?
4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They often call this the fourth trimester.
Always, yes. And that's a very real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Other countries do so much better supporting their women through the fourth trimester than we do. Other countries allow their moms to stay home. In some Asian countries, the fourth trimester, the mom goes away to like this beautiful place where they can recoup their body, and there's all this tribe of women caring for the baby, which is amazing too. Like there's just so many different practices around the world that we haven't adopted yet. We're like, okay, great. 6 weeks later, it's time for you to go back to work.
If you're lucky with 6
If you're
weeks.
lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And during COVID, this has been even harder because, unless everyone has been safe and quarantining and stuff, you can't just have people over to help you,
No.
During normal times, a mother-in-law or your mom can be there, or sister or whatever it is, it's even harder right now. So if anyone's had a baby in the past year, like extra credit for you guys.
Yeah. A plus plus.
Yeah. Liz says you want that baby so much, and then you can't connect, and then you feel like a complete failure. Look at this.
That's exactly it.
This is so normal. It's so normal.
So normal. This
Don't
happens.
Don't wait 8 months to get help.
No. Nope. And even if you do go get help and then it doesn't turn out to be diagnosable postpartum depression, who cares?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't hurt to go get help and to get some more tools in your arsenal. I know I keep saying tools, but that's honestly like I legit, you're wearing a tool belt and you're like pulling them out. Like, here's my hammer, here's my screwdriver. Like, these are the things I need in this moment. Yeah. And also, if you don't go to a support group in postpartum, they have breastfeeding groups. They have new mom groups. I mean, I don't know if Corinne's still here, but she made amazing connections in her new mom group. It just gets you out of the house. It gets you socializing. It gets you feeling like a human being.
Yeah.
And it breaks that cycle of feeding, pooping, changing, maybe an hour's worth of sleep, and start over again.
Yeah. Let's talk about how to support someone going through that. So someone in that position, someone going through that probably doesn't even have the time or bandwidth to say, hey, I should probably reach out to someone and tell them I need some help. What are ways for people to help them without it being asked of them?
Drop off meals. Just pop over and say, let me hold the baby. I want to hold the baby, like, and be all like, I want to hold the baby. I need some baby time. You go off and do what you need to do. Mm-hmm. Even as simple as taking a shower can make you feel like a human being again, going outside for a walk. Again, accessing those coping strategies that you've turned to in the past that you haven't had a moment to think about. Mm-hmm. Taking a deep breath, meditating, sitting down and just focusing on your breath for a minute. That honestly was the best thing anybody could do for me, was just offering to come over and hold my baby. Like,
really?
Aiden, here, take, please. Yes, God. Like, there's a point in the day where I would call it, I'm touched out. I cannot have any more little hands on me. I can't have anything else dangling off of my boob at this moment. I am touched out. Take this child out of my hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how, and I feel like there are so many of these thoughts and feelings that we should just get them all out here. Like, put them out here, guys, and see, like, yep, had that one. It's like a checklist. Like, you are not alone in any of these feelings.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, you.
I was just going to say, so I did have self-diagnosed. I didn't think that if I went in, a therapist would say, yes, you meet all the criteria for postpartum anxiety. But I knew that I would have anxiety as a new mom and I would ruminate about things. I also had the scary, very real moments where I thought, I wonder what would happen if I fell down the stairs when I'm holding the baby. I wonder what would happen if I fell asleep with the baby, or I wonder what would happen if I accidentally dropped him on his head. And like, these pictures going through my head are extremely vivid and cause the same emotional reaction as if it were really happening.
Yes.
So I was exhausted. I can literally imagine 50 horrible things happening in any given moment. I can let my brain go. I will create catastrophes. That's part of my anxiety as well. I catastrophize a ton. So I was doing that left and right, so much to the point where Aiden would be sleeping finally, and I couldn't fall asleep because I thought that he wasn't breathing, or he wasn't breathing correctly. Or I would literally go in and feel the breath coming out, it's like turning off the lights, right? It's like OCD almost. And then I would go lay back down and I'd be like, I can't trust that that's really what I felt. I need to go do it again. And I would want to go up and feel it again, or like feel that his belly was moving. So yeah, that was, yeah.
Lauren, did Brian know that you did these things? And what did he think?
He was very grounding for me. He is sometimes that thing that I need that will bring it back down. He's like my truth barometer. I'll propose a thought to him. I'll be like, can you tell me if this is in any way like a reality that we need to talk through, or is this just my anxiety? So sometimes he's a really great barometer for me.
Yeah.
And he's very logical. He's very practical. So he will tell me the practical version of what I'm going through, if that makes sense. He'd be like, X, Y, and Z, this is why you don't need to think about it or worry about it. Right. And oftentimes that would make me okay. The other thing he did was give me permission to co-sleep with my baby, which was huge. But that's, again, it's a very personal choice. Okay. That alleviated so much of my anxiety because my baby was sleeping next to me. And I researched the crap out of co-sleeping because, again, it's a very anxiety producing thing. This culture tells you this is not okay. This is not what you're supposed to be doing. But the more you research it, the more you know that we're one of the few that don't.
Interesting. So. Interesting. We have some comments here. Allison is watching. She said also, I think this was, hi Gator. I think this is in response to when you were touching Aiden's belly and checking for the breath. And then going back a little further, she was so touched out between the baby and the dogs. I threw Veda at Mark the minute he walked in the door from work and took a walk. Yeah.
Yep.
Not
having shame around it. Right, exactly. Yeah. But not having shame around it. It's okay to do that. It's when you get stuck in the shame cycle that your depression or anxiety is going to perpetuate more and more and more.
Right. She's like, hi friends, Gator here.
I miss you, Gator.
That nickname. It's like 20 years old. Love it. Kelly found support in mom groups and found them critical in her first maternity leave, but that wasn't an option in the recent maternity leave due to COVID. And then showers are life. Seriously, you wouldn't think that, but those few minutes are the best.
The best.
Yeah. And then Liz, every time she went to the top of the stairs, she saw her head dropping the baby over the rail in her head. Yep. And I mean, like, I don't have a baby. I haven't gotten to that point yet. But guys, I see, like, I do this already in life, and like, you know, picture tripping over something or falling down the stairs. I picture falling down the stairs like probably way more often than I should. And I'm like, oh, and I cringe. Like my body has like an actual reaction, and I'm like, oh, my neck hurts. I just broke it. Great. So cool. I'm going to have wonderful thoughts when I have a baby. I can't wait for this.
At least you can be like, I know they're normal. Other people have had them before. It doesn't mean they're true.
Yeah. Can you channel those fears into like an awareness that I'm protective of my baby? I'm having these feelings because I'm being protective.
Look, you're going to be so good at the third part of CBT, which is just reauthoring some things that you're saying to yourself. You've got it, Lynn.
Yes. This is amazing. There was one thing I'm going to rewind back what you were talking about. You had said, you know, if you're showing signs of anxiety or something and you want people to call you out on it, I want to talk about that real quick, because there was a woman in my group yesterday in one of my Facebook groups who said that her husband received a note from a friend who said that he doesn't think that she should do IVF until she goes to therapy. Okay, now we don't know this woman, we don't know whatever, but we do find out that the friend that offered that advice is a therapist, so he must have seen something. But it was not well received, and it was not welcome. So be careful, guys. Like, if you notice somebody going through something that doesn't seem like it's out of character for them, don't just be like, hey, the is wrong with you, you know? Talk about how to do it right.
The way that was worded was Like, it's so full of judgment and opinion. And there's so many different better ways that you can go about giving some really tough feedback to somebody. Like, this is tough. Someone else making these observations about yourself. And at the core, that person may have been right, but that's never going to be heard. You have to think about it how you want it to be heard. So again, another premise of social work is always remaining curious. So you can say, like, I'm so curious. This is going to be such a hard thing. Can imagine how hard this is going to be and how many emotions this is going to bring up. I wonder if so-and-so has ever done the work in therapy. Like, do you think that would be helpful? Like, and totally come at it from like an information getting curiosity, as opposed to a, I don't think you should do this until you've had therapy. That's a very like finger wagging. If you can finger wag when you're saying it, don't say it.
Exactly. And if you know someone and they're close to you and you're observing this, maybe just start by asking, hey, how are you feeling right now? And try to bring an awareness to it rather than an accusation to it, right?
Like, making observations are fine. You should be like, I totally observed you doing X, Y, and Z, and that just seems so out of the norm for you. Are you okay?
Yes. If you can specifically point something out and just ask about it, I think that's a lot safer to do. And don't do it in a judging way. It's just asking, curiosity, 100%, the way that you said it, Lauren. I love that. I love that. I think we're giving people some awesome tools to be supportive for people going through their journeys. We're not going to talk about co-sleeping today. Kelly had put a comment in there. I think it sounds like we're going to have to do an episode on co-sleeping once we get further along. Mom is saying, it's always not what you say, but how you say it. Yes. Mm-hmm. I was raised hearing that. Yes. All right. Now, we're going to jump into, and we've gone a little over an hour already, so I want to make sure that we get to an important part of our episode here. Just want to make sure that we hit all the important things. Okay, so Lauren has put together a very nice structure for group support. We're going to start with fertility support group, and I'm personally going to be participating in it. So if you're going through your fertility journey, and you want to be in a group where we're talking in a small group area about this, obviously you know how vulnerable I am and how deep we're going to get, but it's going to be led by a professional right there, and this is going to be closed to a maximum of 10 people. We're going to be starting in early April.
End of March, early April, yeah.
Okay. What we've put together is a form that you can fill out if you're interested. It is in the description of this video. And if it's not there, you can always reach out to me and just ask me for a link to that form. And it's just collecting information, no credit card, or billing information is going to be collected there. You're just going to let us know when you're available. And what we're looking to do is like kind of a lunchtime 1 hour session via Zoom. So you don't even have to leave home or work or wherever you're at. Just go to a quiet place where you can spend in 1 hour working on you and your feelings as you're going through this journey.
Yep.
I know I kind of stole the show there, Lauren. Talk more about what the structure of this is going to be.
Yeah, so it's going to be 8 weeks, 8-week sessions. So all the research I'm doing on the best practices for group work, I'm a group worker at heart. This is something I adore. I adore the power of groups. So I take it very seriously. And what I'm going to be teaching is at first I will do some teaching, and then the group's going to go where it needs to go. But I want to teach you the tools of cognitive behavioral therapy and also some mindfulness, and we can do some practicing and do activities that I think will bring a lot of awareness to what you're going through and get those feelings out and rework those thought processes. And I'll teach you all about what that means and how to do it, and give you the tools to walk away with and be able to cope. So that's the goal of the group. And then just to find connectivity and make more connections with people and listen to other people's stories and be lifted up by them.
And feel less alone, right?
Yeah.
That's the big
If you walk away with nothing else, then that's a good one, is to feel less alone.
Yeah. And with all those tools, back to the tools. We're going to put them on, we're going to give everyone a belt, and everyone's going to hang their emotional toolbox from it.
That is actually an activity that I do in my groups. Yes, I actually physically have you make a toolbox, and then you put representations of your new tools into the toolbox.
Oh my God. I love that. I cannot wait to participate in this. It's going to be so, I feel like I'm already feeling like the tools are going to help me. I'm very excited about it. I was going to see if I could grab that link and just put it in the chat. But if anyone can grab it from the description of the video that you're watching and just paste it into the chat, then I can pop it up on screen and people will also see it in Facebook and on YouTube. If anyone can grab that, you can be a super helper today with the show. This has been our largest audience, Lauren, that we've had. On the show. And I think that it's because this topic is something that is everyone goes through and can relate to, and everyone wants to know how to help people going through it. I feel like we've done a great job covering that. Is there anything that we missed that I left out?
I mean, like I said, all of these things could probably go off on tangents and talk about for hours on end. Yes. So no, I think we did a really good overview.
I agree, and this felt good, and I'm feeling better. I mean, my experience yesterday was, 2 days ahead of when I'm going to get my negative pregnancy test. I was able to kind of, when I talked to my therapist about it yesterday morning, he's like, you can't grieve the feelings you haven't had yet. And I'm like, but I'm having the feelings. Like, I'm pretty positive it's going to be a negative, like, I think I can mourn that now and then feel okay for when I get the actual news. And I was able to do that. And I don't like it when people tell me I can't have those, that I can't do something.
Don't tell Lynn you can't do something.
Exactly. And, but usually my therapist is like, every feeling is valid. But yesterday we weren't seeing eye to eye. I called Lauren. It wasn't even like I called her to fix me. I really just wanted to call her to talk about the episode. And just in those few moments with Lauren, she was able to just say the right questions and things to kind of help my headspace get to a place where I could start to process those feelings and feel better today. I mean, like, today I know even more than I did yesterday that I'm not pregnant, and I'm better today than I was yesterday. So it's a really hard thing, guys. I have shared in some of my other episodes the very horrible thoughts that I've had, the anger, the shame, the negativity about myself. One last thing I want to talk about: when women are going through their postpartum, this postpartum, like, let's not even call it depression, just postpartum, like everything we described today, it's very clear everyone's going through this in different shapes and sizes, it's there. But let's talk about the partners real quick. What are they experiencing during postpartum? Have you worked with that, Lauren?
Not as much, except in my own personal life, so I can only draw from personal experience.
Yeah.
Again, if you're breastfeeding, your partner may not know exactly what they can do, because that is how you're building this huge bond with this baby, is by providing it sustenance. And when the baby's away from you, because the baby can smell you, it's connected to you. If you're anywhere nearby, it will cry for you. And that can be very discouraging for partners, and partners don't trust themselves because they've never done it. Brian had extensive babysitting experience, and he has 2 younger siblings that are like 10 years younger. So he has a lot of experience with babies and kids, and he still felt like he didn't know what to do. He wanted to help, but like, if I would walk away, they would cry louder. And then it was just easier for me to take the baby back and make the baby stop crying, because it was so stressful to hear the baby cry. And so they're feeling pretty helpless and like, not hopeless, but pretty helpless. Like, they're just like, I don't have direction. I'm not bonding with the baby. And it's super important that they bond with the baby too. And they're not bonding with their partner, because you're going through 2 very different experiences. So just acknowledging that, and trying to talk it through so that you are each aware of each other's experience. And just by sharing experiences doesn't mean you're unloading feelings onto the other person, or blaming the other person, or that person has to then carry those feelings for you. It's just a sharing and having a conversation.
I feel like that last part there couldn't be emphasized enough. That is a feeling I have when I'm crying and having a breakdown, and Bert comes to talk to me about it, and I feel like I am burdening him. And that is he and I've come to a point now where I can say that I'm like, I feel like I'm, ruining your day. I feel like you feel like you have to take care of me, or that you can't trust me to take care of myself. And this is something we've been able to talk about. And now he says, no, that's not the case at all. I'm just here for you, and I'm not blaming you, and I know you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And that's
And it
that's
makes
who we
them
are.
feel like they can do something, right? In this helpless state. The very least that they can do is listen. And then they feel like they're a part of it again.
Right, right. Kelly said, what helped us is to have your partner with the diaper changes. Anything they
Yes.
can do other than the breastfeeding. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to
Yeah.
clean all the bottles and everything yourself. Your partner is there. It's a great
Hmm.
thing, so that you don't feel like you're doing it all. Get your partner
Yeah.
involved, and let them know when you need help, right?
Yeah. Brian was in charge of output. I was in charge of input.
I like that.
And then we were both up at the same time, and then it's that you don't build the resentment that like, oh, look at him over there sleeping and snoring. Like, isn't it great that he just gets to sleep through all this? And like the resentment builds, and you don't want that either. So, and he didn't want that. So he was up with me. He was just like, okay, hand him over when you're done. I'm going to change the diaper. And then, it's as long as it feels equal, it feels really much better.
I love this. Heather's saying Scott would stay awake some nights to bring the kids to her, so she didn't even have
Mm,
to get up to nurse. He said all
yeah.
that she had to do was ask for help, but it was really
Yeah.
hard. Yeah.
Yep.
Guys, look at us. We have done amazing work today. If you are interested or know anyone that is going through their journey that would benefit from joining a group, there's a form in the description below. Fill that out. And also, you can check out more information about Lauren. If you want to read more about her, there's a link to her page there where you can get some background, on her qualifications, her specialties, and everything. And if you don't want to do group work, you can just reach out to Lauren and work one-on-one with her. And this is all done virtually. So you don't even have to be in the same state. Well, do they have to be in the same state? How does that work? I don't even know. As long as you're practicing in the state you're in, it's okay. Is that how it works?
Yeah, and there's been a lot of things lifted because of COVID. So now there's state to state reciprocity with licensure. So that's good.
Oh, wonderful. Well, there you go.
Hmm.
Oh, awesome. All right. I think we're going to wrap up the show today. This was amazing. This is the highest, amount of interactivity. So I thank everybody that showed up to watch. If
Thank
you
you.
have not subscribed to Baby Talk, I go live Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm actually going to be stitching together the past 7 weeks of videos, like in like 1 week, kind of like recap episodes. So you can kind of go back and see all the amazing things that we talked about. And please subscribe on YouTube. And you can, if you want to watch our episodes or get notified when I go live, you can click on the little bell for notifications. Just by subscribing, you're not going to get notified. It's just how
No.
YouTube works. That subscribe button does mean a lot to me. I'm currently at 69 subscribers, which is an awesome number. Very sexy. But I would love to have some more subscribers. It does help get this word out to more people. It makes our content more searchable and findable. So just by subscribing, you're kind of just helping to encourage the message. I'm not currently right now doing this for monetary reasons or anything. It's just personally because I am going through the journey and have the time to do it and the means to do it. Some last Kelly really liked that input and output. Never thought of it that way, but it's a great tip. Put that one in your toolbox for parenthood. Like it. Yeah, the key is for asking for help. Guys, I would love to know, what you got out of this. If you feel like you want to reach out to me at all, I am on Instagram, Facebook, obviously on YouTube. The comments stay here with the channels. You can also follow us on Facebook, which is Baby Talk with Lynn. And I am on Instagram too, trying to keep up with all the social media. But big thank you to everybody who signed in today or watched today. And thank you so much, Lauren, just for all the knowledge, all the tips, everything. And thank you for being such a good friend. So
Thank
much.
you, Lynn. Thanks
Yes.
for what you're doing, and thanks for opening up to me and opening up to the world. So that's awesome.
Thank you so much. All right. we're going to dance this out. Little ending here, kind of end on a happy note. It is the weekend, guys. Go and have an awesome Friday night. Enjoy the weekend. We're going to dance it out, and then we will fade to black. We'll see you later, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.
Bye.